Welcome to Take Another Look, a public affairs program bringing you news updates and important information that you can use. Well, it's football season, and we all know that Sunday is for the pros, Saturday is for the college players, but Friday is for the high school student athletes. Which brings us to our guest for today's show, who is the head football coach of the Thornridge Falcons, Coach Pat Jennings. Coach Jennings, welcome to Take Another Look.
Thank you very much.
So let's start by finding out how you got involved in coaching.
It's a long story, but this is my 32nd year of coaching high school football in the state of Illinois. And I think it was because of the fact that my high school coaches and the coaches that I had throughout my youth kind of steered me in this direction. And I really wanted to work with student athletes that were young adults, that give them what I got out of the game, which was, a life's lesson that I can't, give back, or, and I always start my year off by saying football has given me a house, a beautiful wife, and 3 kids, and that's my motto, and that's what I live by.
Now, sometimes people emphasize the athletic portion of it, but not the student athlete part of it. We have that discussion, of course, in the college ranks. What are you really there for? And I think in some situations, people may think they're really there to play football, and the academic part of it is secondary. Of course, we know that's not the case in high school.
No, it's not the case in high school. As a matter of fact, the majority of my background has been in either Dalton, Waukegan, Crete, and the message that I want to get through to these kids, and this has been with me since I started, was use sports only as a key to unlocking that door to your future. But the door happens to be your education. And the only way you're going to use that key is by getting an education, allowing yourself to be the model student athlete that people look at and want to be and envy and everything else. But it starts with an education. It starts right there and finishes there. And we've all seen and heard stories about great high school athletes who never were able to develop at the next level because of the fact that they took their education and weren't serious about it. But this is what we're trying to develop over here at Thornridge.
So you mentioned that you had other coaching positions in your long time, as a coach. So tell us a couple of the other places where you were, and who are some of the famous names we might know, athletes that you've coached?
Started off at Weber High School, which was the home of Mike Krzyzewski. Mike Krzyzewski graduated from Weber. For those that don't know, he's the basketball coach at Duke. Then went to Gordon, where I had played and won a state championship. But the next stop, I was the defense coordinator at De La Salle, and I got to coach a kid by the name of Ronaldo Wynn. Ronaldo played for me at De La Salle, went on to Notre Dame, played 16 years in the NFL, and taught me that hard work and a great education can open doors for everything. And ended up at Notre Dame, played, like I said, 16 years in the NFL. Then ended up in Dalton, the beautiful Dalton, Illinois, coaching under Mike Springston at Thornridge. Coached there for 3 years, taught there for 12. Coached at a couple other places, but the one key stop was I coached at Evanston for a year, which led to me becoming the head coach at Waukegan. And then from there, I went to beautiful, great St. Ignatius High School, and then got a call from one of the kids one of the best football players that ever played at Thornridge, Reggie Hayward, and said, Coach, I was at that stage where I wanted a challenge, but I knew this was going to be my last stop. And he said, go back to Thornridge. And I thought about it, and it's been wonderful. It's been great. It's been a great experience. and it's been, something that I will never regret.
Now, when you came back to Thornridge, they weren't having a lot of success as far as the high school football team, varsity, well, all through the levels, actually. They weren't having a lot of success. Is that correct?
No, they weren't. In fact, I took over a program that was 0-27 in the last 3 seasons.
0-27 over the last 3 seasons.
Yep.
So they were winless.
Right?
And so now this year, you guys are what?
We're 5-2 right now.
Okay.
And on the cusp of making the state playoffs, which has only happened 7 times in the history of Thornridge High School.
Now, as a result of your success this year, you were recently named one of the coaches of the week by the Chicago Bears. It's an award that's given to outstanding prep coaches as well as athletes. They name an athlete and a coach, and you were the outstanding coach for this week. Is that correct?
Yes, and believe it or not, 32 years of coaching, and I got a bunch of calls from a lot of different coaches that I've either coached against or coached with who were, highly congratulatory. But in the meantime, it was one of those things where it couldn't have happened at a better spot, and it couldn't have happened with a better group of student athletes and a better group of assistant coaches.
Now, everybody who lives in Dalton knows that the Thornridge Falcons, they have a strong level of parental support. Mm-hmm. The parents come out to the games,
yes,
they paint their faces, they wear the blue uniform, the blue jerseys and hats and everything. What's your relationship with the parents who, not just the parents who have students who are playing, of course, they're going to be present, but it seems to me like the administrators, many of the teachers, the whole community embraces Thornridge.
It has been, believe it or not, okay, so when I got back there, a little bit of history. In 2011, they were talking about closing Thornridge. And so I think that led to a lot of what went on throughout those next 3 years. But then, I got back and we tried to build that culture again that I was used to in the 90s when I coached there, which was, strong parental involvement, as well as, everybody in the building just seems, to get involved in some way, shape, or form. And so, the first 2 years was one of those deals where, we tried a couple things. But this year, let's take the success aside. This year, we started off the season with a game against Butler College Prep where we had a back-to-school night for all the kids, for all the students, as well as, we invited all the teachers and administration and everything else. Okay, so that went over pretty well. Then the second game, we had another theme where it was, I believe it was our alumni night. And we had some alumni come back to watch where the program was. But the fifth game of the year was we started a teacher appreciation night where we gave the teachers the away jerseys of the football players. And we had 42 teachers represented, as well as all the administrators, Principal Williams, Vice Principal Belfast, Vice Principal Volant, and 2 or 3 of the board members. And it was just, now you felt like, it was the program is finally reaching that point of, getting the student social aspect as well as teacher aspect all back into following, what the Thornridge Falcons were doing.
Excellent. So now, of course, we're getting ready for our big rivalry game that ends every year with the rivalry game against Thornwood. So tell us a little bit about the preparation. Don't give away any strategic secrets.
No, I wouldn't do that. No, it's gonna be a great night. It really is. And you always look at it. You see some of the great rivalries, Michigan, Ohio State, and some of the other great rivalries throughout sports. And you look at it and you say, okay, if this was Thornridge versus Andrew or Thornridge versus Stagg, at Game 9, senior night, it just wouldn't carry that luster. But this one, for some reason, fell at a perfect time. Both teams are going to be preparing to go to the state playoffs. And it's going to be a big game for both. Thornwood represents South Holland and the other, communities. Thornridge representing Dalton, and the communities that are surround Dalton, and it's one of those games where it goes back years.
Mm-hmm.
You can look at the record books and look at how this game evolved throughout the years, and this one for some reason is going to be for a lot more than just the neighborhood rivalry. It's gonna really mean something, and it's gonna be a great game.
And of course, it's also senior night, as you mentioned,
Yes.
so that'll be the last game for many of the seniors, and their parents will be there as well.
Yep.
All right. So, what do you have to say to those out there to encourage them to come on out and cheer on their hometown high school student athletes at Thornridge High School?
I would say that this is a great group of student athletes. It's one of those groups that could change the culture of a high school, and yet, they are students first, but on that particular night, they're going to be great athletes. And if you have nothing to do on a Friday night and you have time to come out and support your neighborhood team, that this would be the game to come out.
Excellent. Well, thank you.
Thank
Coach
you.
Jennings. Appreciate your time. And as you can see, I already have my Thornridge Falcons hat. So thank you for tuning in to this edition of Take Another Look. We've been here with Coach Jennings representing the Thornridge Falcons.